I never believed in haunted houses, not until I moved into one that never stopped building itself. A place that was small when I arrived, barely more than 2 rooms and a cracked bathroom. But each morning after I moved in, it was just bigger. New hallways where there were none the day before. Doors I didn't remember closing now, sealed shut. Windows where brick walls should be. And at first I thought I was simply exhausted, grieving, hallucinating my wife had died 2 months before in a car crash that left my life broken and hollow. And this cheap rental on the edge of nowhere felt like the perfect place to fall apart in peace. But it only took 1 week before the house began showing signs it wasn't a house at all. Not really, not in the way buildings are meant to be lived in. Because every night I'd hear footsteps above me despite there being no second floor, dragging footsteps, slow and wet, like something pulling itself forward 1 hand at a time. And I told myself it was mice, the wind, old plumbing, the lies we all tell ourselves to get to sleep. But I knew better when I found muddy handprints on the ceiling of my bedroom, long fingers stretching far too wide, all pointing toward my bed. Then came the day the mirror didn't reflect me at all. It showed the hallway behind me, but not me. And in the hallway was a man just standing still, arms at his side, head twitching violently like a puppet yanked on a broken string. And when I turned around, there was nothing there, just the hallway, quiet and still. But from that moment on, my reflection never quite matched me again, blinking out of sync, moving slightly late, sometimes mouthing words I wasn't saying, always with that slight, sick grin curling just a little too high. And I stopped using mirrors after that, but I still caught glimpses of him in windows, in dark screens, in my nightmares. The house added a staircase on the 7th day, a narrow, rotting set of steps going downward where the pantry used to be. And I swear I didn't go down, I swear I resisted, but I woke up on the floor at the bottom, hours later, with my hands covered in something slick and black, and a terrible, aching hunger in my belly. And the walls down there were covered in photographs of me, hundreds of them, some from that week, some from years I don't remember, some from angles inside my old apartment, inside my childhood home, taken from under my bed, behind a closet door, the kind of pictures no one should ever have. And in the center of all the photos was one word scrawled in charcoal: feed. I tried to run, to leave, but every door now opened to new hallways, new corridors that twisted in on themselves, walls that pulsed slightly, as if the whole house had a heartbeat, and every room I entered made me forget a little more. First my phone's passcode, then my mother's face, then the way my wife used to say goodnight, until I found myself screaming just to hear my own voice, to prove I was still real. But even that began to echo back in someone else's tone, not mine. I kept hearing her voice, my wife, at first in dreams, then in the walls, calling to me softly, saying she was here, she was alive, just on the other side of the door, with the red frame, a door that didn't exist until it did, in a room I hadn't entered before. And I opened it. Of course I opened it. And what stepped out wasn't hurt, had her eyes, but stretched wrong black around the lids, and empty, like looking into a well. And her mouth moved to slowly forming words that didn't belong to her, saying things I knew she'd never say. You never saved me. You watched me die. Now watch yourself. And it smiled and folded back into the shadows. And from then on, the house spoke with her voice, through vents, through light bulbs, through static on the radio. whispering things I used to tell her in our most private moments, turning every memory I ever loved into something sharp and sick. I started locking doors behind me, trying to trap the rooms themselves, because I swear they moved, shifted when I wasn't looking. And once I opened a door and found a version of my living room, except everything inside was rotting. The couch covered in mold, the TV flickering static, and on the wall, a family photo I'd never taken, showing me, my wife, and a child we never had, all smiling with black, empty eyes. I lost track of time after that daylight stopped coming. Clocks ticked backward, food turned to ash in my mouth, and water from the faucet ran thick and red, and still the house kept building itself, expanding into impossible angles, spirals that folded into each other, doorways too narrow to walk through, but somehow I had. And then one night I followed the sound of her singing down a long, sloping hall, and I came to a room filled with televisions stacked, humming, all showing different footage of me. Some asleep, some crying, some walking through rooms I didn't recognize, and one screen showing me staring into a screen, watching myself, watch myself, watch myself, and I couldn't look away until something reached out of the screen and touched my face and whispered, "You're home now." I don't know how long it's been. I don't know who I am anymore. I found a room filled with shoes, all my size, some modern, some ancient, all worn through like they'd been walked for years. And I realized maybe I wasn't the first. Maybe I wasn't even the real version of myself anymore, just another echo the house had carved from its walls. And the more I screamed, the less it mattered, because the house doesn't care, it just wants pieces of you, your love, your grief, your memories, your fear. It wears them, rearranges them, decorates itself with them like skin. And now I sit in a room that wasn't here yesterday, writing this on walls that bleed and curl with every word, because I know someone else will come. Someone else will move in and think it's a house, think it's safe, think they are real, and I'll be watching them through the mirrors, waiting to see if this one finally understands that this place isn't haunted, it's alive, and it's starving.